So you're smart, you have a successful career, and you're killing it in life. So why does your love life feel like a constant struggle? You can think to yourself, I have my life in order. Why do relationships just not work out? Well, the answer might surprise you. So in this video, I'm going to dive into why smart people can fail terribly at relationships. So here's the thing. Being intelligent doesn't automatically translate to relationship success. You may have noticed that. You know, as a coach, I've seen countless high achievers excel in their careers, but stumble when it comes to relationships. It's almost like they're speaking a completely different language in their personal lives. The secret lies in understanding that there's more to relationships than just brain power. It's about balancing different types of intelligence. So oftentimes we can think to ourselves, well, I'm smart, right? I have some intelligence. I have some success to show from that. I just need to apply that knowledge to my relationship, right? But the truth is there are three main types of intelligence. So a lot of people have heard of IQ, but there's also AQ and EQ. These three different types of quotients hold the key to unlocking your relationship potential. So let's break this down. First up, we have IQ, which is intelligence quotient. And this is what most people think of when they hear smart. It's all about logical reasoning, problem solving, and analytical thinking, right? You know, the kind of smarts that help you ace exams or come up with brilliant business strategies. But success isn't always about intelligence, right? Next, we have the AQ, which is the adaptive quotient. And this is your ability to roll with the punches, to adapt to new situations, and to handle uncertainty. And this is kind of like a mental flexibility muscle. People with high AQ are curious, they're resilient, they're great at navigating challenges. And it's the combination of this IQ and AQ that can really build and skyrocket traditional success. But last and definitely not least, we have the EQ, which is our emotional quotient. And this is your emotional intelligence, your ability to understand and manage emotions, both yours and other people's. It's about building empathy, self-awareness, and effective communication. So here's where things get a little bit more interesting. Many smart, successful people excel in IQ and AQ. They're quick learners, they adapt well to new challenges, and they often climb their career ladder with a lot of ease. But when it comes to EQ, well, that can often be the blind spot. You know, there's often Hollywood films about the brilliant genius inventor who has built a multi-million-dollar empire from the ground up, but struggles to understand why his wife is upset. Or a high-powered executive who can navigate corporate politics but can't seem to maintain a long-term relationship. These are classic examples of high IQ and AQ, but low EQ in action. You know, I work with a member called Alex, who is a successful software engineer, earns ridiculous amounts of money, and has a high IQ that rivals Einstein's, right? He can code in his sleep and has no problem adapting to different programming languages and all of these different challenges. But when it came to his marriage, he was completely lost. You know, his wife would try to express her feelings and Alex would jump in and try to fix the problem with logic, missing completely the emotional connection that she was seeking. And this is a really common scenario. Smart people often can approach relationships like they do with their work problems, right? Logically and efficiently. But emotions don't always follow logic, and this mismatch can lead to a lot of frustration on both sides. High intelligence in one area doesn't automatically translate to all areas of life. So we've established that being smart isn't just about having a high IQ or AQ. But why is EQ so crucial when it comes to relationships? So EQ is kind of the secret sauce when it comes to relationships. EQ is the crucial ingredient that turns all relationships into a successful connection. So without it, even the smartest and most successful people can find themselves stumbling in the dark when it comes to relationships. And the problem is that having a high IQ and AQ can actually make these emotional challenges in relationships worse. People with a high IQ or AQ can struggle with emotional ambivalence, feeling misunderstood, or having a hard time empathizing with their partner's feelings. It can be like speaking a different language. Your logic can always try to kick in and fix things in the relationship. Sometimes very smart, logical people can get bored easily in relationships. They're always seeking more intellectually stimulating conversations, or they can't really deal with people's emotions because they don't really know how to handle them. Or if you are very driven and motivated, you can maybe need some more alone time for sort of deep thinking to decompress your brain. And this can kind of clash with typical relationship expectations. And before I move to the next point, if you do want more videos like this, then feel free to subscribe to the channel for new videos every single week. You know, if you have a very hyper-driven mind, this can lead to a lot of analyzing everything, including their partner's every move, but that's not exactly a recipe for relationship bliss. But beyond all of this, if you do have a lot of success, you might be thinking, well, surely it's just easier that I find someone with the same mindset, right? Is emotional intelligence really that important to a relationship? I just need to find someone who matches my success, right? Well, actually, the research says the opposite. There are studies showing that EQ is actually a stronger predictor of any relationship success, whether you have IQ or AQ. Emotional intelligence is the Swiss Army knife of relationship skills. It helps you recognize different nonverbal cues, empathize with your partner, and effectively understand them, as well as communicating your own needs. So having a high IQ does not automatically translate to high emotional intelligence. In order to cultivate a fulfilling relationship with anyone, you need to develop the EQ skills. So when it comes to smart, successful people, there's an EQ gap. And it's really important to develop this in order to build and maintain and grow relationships. Think about it. How many times have you seen a super smart person totally misread a social situation or unintentionally hurt somebody else's feelings? This is the EQ gap in action. So EQ is like a muscle that you can work out and strengthen over time. And the payoff is more than worth it, because people who have developed a high EQ have better relationship outcomes, not only in romantic relationships, but also in their professional lives as well. So it actually adds to your success. And people with a high EQ also have a higher overall life satisfaction as well. So we've uncovered the EQ gap, but how do we bridge it? The good news is that all three of these quotients are able to be developed. So EQ, just like AQ and IQ, is a skill that can develop, just like learning a new language or mastering a musical instrument. And this is where your AQ, your adaptability quotient, can actually work in your favor, because this is you overcoming the challenge of learning the emotional side of things. So how do we do it? And obviously I will keep this brief because there's only so much detail that I can dive into in a YouTube video. But if you do want to deeper dive into all of this and start developing your EQ, then join us on the free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same tools and skills that all of my successful members have used to build themselves a thriving relationship from the ground up. Click on the link in the description to reserve your place today. So the first step is developing the ability to recognize and name your own emotions. It's kind of like creating a mental dictionary of feelings. And this may sound quite simplistic, but oftentimes, if you really think about it, we use very few words to describe our feelings. Angry, happy, sad, frustrated, that's about it. The more granular and nuanced you get in naming your own feelings, the more you actually build your emotional vocabulary. So you can name more feelings within yourself and recognize more feelings within yourself. So it's important to start by pausing and just asking yourself throughout the day, what am I feeling right now? And it may be challenging at first to get out of this happy, sad, frustrated straitjacket that we can have with our vocabulary. And from this, your emotional vocabulary will start to grow, and so will your ability to start connecting more with others. Now, this is where your problem-solving skills can shine. Think of improving your emotional quotient as a research project. Next, if you are a smart, successful person, you can start to see this whole thing as a data collection on other people's perspectives. Remember that the more you take the time to listen and understand other people, the more context you have to their perspectives and their own feelings. Other people's perspectives is power. So when your partner expresses something, don't just try to hear the words, try to understand the emotions behind them. It's kind of like being an emotional detective, piecing together clues and context to understand the bigger picture behind your partner's feelings. And in order to do this and to help build the emotional safety around your partner expressing their feelings, you can start using different communication techniques to encourage them to speak. If you do have this very strong logical side to your brain, it's important to start to get out of the logical habit in conversation. So instead of immediately offering solutions, which is always very tempting with partners, try just simply listening to their feelings, their emotions, and try reflective listening to repeat back and paraphrase what you've heard to see if you understood it correctly. This is kind of like creating a feedback loop within a system. It ensures that you're both on the same wavelength. Once you start to get out of problem-solving mode and into sitting with emotions, it builds that connection, and eventually you can start getting to the logical side, but building the emotional side of conversations is crucial to lay the foundation for the logical solutions later on. And the best thing about all of this is that if you are driven and successful and you have this high IQ and high AQ, improving your emotional quotient doesn't just benefit your romantic relationships, it actually benefits your professional life as well. Think about it. Leadership isn't just about making smart decisions, it's about understanding and motivating people. And as you boost your EQ, you'll likely find yourself becoming a much more effective leader, a better team player, and much more adaptable to change as well. You know, one of the pitfalls that successful people can fall into is within their relationships, trying to emulate that logical success that they've had in their professional life. And oftentimes in trying to lead the relationship in the right way, it can actually become overly controlling. So if you do want a deeper dive into how to lead a relationship without becoming controlling, then I'll leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.